Welcome, 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 welcome. Rock out with us for a little bit. I'm gonna send some stuff out, so just stay patient with us, real quick, man. We're gonna get this thing going. It's your boy Elder. We're gonna turn up in a little bit. Got some special guests coming through. hmm Welcome, 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 welcome. This is your boy Elder, man. We're gonna be talking about the NBA draft. We're gonna talk about some things, so just rock out with us for a minute. Give us a moment, get ourselves together. All right, this is your boy Elder, man. So what's up? Thank you guys for joining us tonight, man. This is the narrative talkback. This is my first live YouTube stream. So I don't know how it's gonna go. I don't know if it's gonna work out, but I just figured I'd try to do something a little bit different this night to check out this. I got some guys who may come through a little bit later to jump on. So if you ever jump on this rock out with us, man, come and just rock out with us and enjoy this, man. Today we're gonna just be talking about the NBA draft. We're going to talk about it from a Piston fan's point of view. I'm calling it, we always call our sessions Real Talk with Real Piston fans, the narrative. So just kind of hang in there with us, man. We're going to have a good time. We're going to talk some things out. We're going to do some things, and I'm just going to run through some different scenarios and just some different thought processes. And I know people looking at the draft with the NCAA finally ending. And we've had some people who were standout, some people disappeared, some people really hope they did a little bit more. So now we're about what is the next direction, man? So as Piston fans, like who are we looking about? What are we thinking about? Who would we be excited about going forward? So some of the people I'm thinking about that we're going to focus on today will mainly be Mr. Cade Cunningham. We'll focus on Mr. Jalen Green. We'll focus on Mr. Evan Mobley. And then last but not least, we'll focus on Jalen Suggs. And the reason I put them in that order, because that's actually the order of how I have those guys ranked. I actually have it ranked as far as I have Cade Cunningham will be my number one. I have Evan Mobley being my number two. Then I have Jalen Green edging Jalen Suggs at number three. And then I have Jalen Suggs bringing up number four. So what we did was some really interesting polls this week. I did some polls inside of the Pistons groups. I'm not asking who's your favorite or whatever like that, although we all have our biases. We all have our biases about these type of things. We have who we prefer, who we like. Man, if you guys checking this stream out, make sure you guys like it, share it, send it out, man. Get other people jumping on. Just trying to do some different things. So I did a poll. So one of the polls I did, I asked this question. Who do you believe, if they reach their maximum potential, they become all that they can be, become all that they can be, who would be the number one pick, who will be who will be your number one? Like if they reach their maximum potential, like this is like them maxing out all of their abilities, skills. So almost over 60% of the votes said it would be Cade Cunningham. They said if they maxed out all of their ability, all of their skill, they become everything they can be, would be Cade Cunningham. And he would be a strong, the number one. Over 60% of the votes. Number two was Jalen Green. They said that Jalen Green will be second. Then third was Jalen Suggs. And then fourth was Evan Mobley. So this is if they maxed out their potential. Just real off top of the head, and other people have different things. I think Cade Cunningham, if he maxed out his potential, is ridiculous. I think he can be a scorer on the level of what we've seen a Carmelo Anthony was. I think he could be a scorer like a Carmelo Anthony. I think Cade Cunningham can distribute the ball. I think that he has a defensive prowess that's very strong and is very unique to who he is. I think that he's a very, very gifted all-around player. I believe he's a very gifted all-around player. And I don't think we've seen a player this skilled, all-around gifted with this size since LeBron. No, I'm not comparing him to LeBron. I'm not saying he's LeBron. I repeat, I am not saying he's LeBron. But what I'm saying, like the skill, the size, the ability, the IQ, can play on both sides of the ball. I don't think you've seen that intangibles since LeBron James. I don't think we've seen it since him coming into a draft. Zion was more physically gifted, like strong, explosive athletes. I'm not even doubting that in Zion, his physical giftings and his ability to score, be powerful, explosive. We haven't seen that since LeBron as well. But as far as like the skill, the ability, the talent, all of those different things, I just don't think we've seen it since. I don't think we've seen it since LeBron. Like nothing off the top of the head really comes like a player like Cade Cunningham, who's going to come into the NBA at 19, NBA ready. Unless he has a serious injury or he really has some type of major hiccup, I just don't see him not being a promising early prospect in the midst of things. So my number two in this poll, they say was Jalen Green. I think Jalen Green has tremendous upside. I think he has tremendous potential. I think he has just tremendous flair for the game. He was running to a lot of those T-Mac, Kobe type comparisons. Not necessarily what I would grade Jalen Green, but if you max out the potential, I can see what that is. I think that we have seen Jalen Greens before. I think we've seen Jalen Green. Let me get my man in here as soon as he gets ready. I'm gonna get Nate up in here. What's up, Nate? Let me get you in here. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, doggy?
You cooking?
As usual.
What's up,
Cooking,
man? I'm just going
drinking.
through. I'm going through some. I'm going through some of the prospects right now.
Okay.
So what I've been talking about so far is so I did a poll inside of the group. So one of the polls that I did inside of the group, I was asking the question, like if the highest, like if every of the top four that we've been talking about, which is Cade, Suggs, Green, and Mobley, of those top four, if they was able to max out their potential, who would have the highest ability to be to lead a playoff contender team, like who has the highest potential? So based on the poll, 60% said Cade. Then the next person was Jalen Green. Then it was Mobley and Suggs. I think they was like pretty close. You kind of agree with that?
I'm actually will go with Mobley more.
Okay.
The reason being is because of the way that the league is expanding. When you look at the elite big men in the league and what their skill set is, when you're looking at AD, Jason Tatum, guys that are able to do so much more. Mobley can handle the ball very well for a 6'11", 7-foot guy. When you look at Kristaps Porzingis, when you look at the infatuation people have, especially you with Bobo, you know. But when you're looking at Mobley, you're looking at what he can do offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
Score inside, score outside, defend the rim. He
Mm-hmm.
can run the break like a gazelle, finish over the top, or finish with finesse.
Right.
So
Right.
when you're looking at that type of potential, and you're looking at how when you're looking not only AD but
Mm-hmm.
Giannis,
Yeah.
so those guys, and what they can do when you're looking at the MVP candidates, how can
Yeah.
you really go against Mobley?
Right. That's
So
so.
that,
So
that that's where
how,
that's where I'm at.
so
And
you would take Mobley over Cade?
um, this is the thing when you're looking at Cade. What is his actual position?
Mm-hmm.
That's number one.
Right.
What is his actual position? And is he more so of a point guard or a point forward?
Mm-hmm.
And like I've told people a bunch, is that when you do that, that means that you've really, really given up on um that you've given up on Killian Hayes
Yeah.
because he
Well,
can't.
well, yeah, we're gonna get to that because we're gonna talk about that because we're gonna get to that when we get to how these all of these prospects potentially the ones we assuming we end up in the top four, how that would impact our team going forward, and we're gonna break these into segments. Like my goal is like as we how we do, we get more information and we keep
Right.
coming back. So the second question that I had posted in the group, I asked this question: who had the highest bust factor? Like this person would be the most likely to bust. So in the group, when I did this poll, almost 60% of the votes said Mobley had the highest
Agree.
bust factor. And then they also, I think it came back, I think number two was Green. He had the second highest amount of bust factor. How you feel about that?
Number one would be Mobley.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Second would be Cade. Reason
Mm-hmm.
is because people are so high on Cade, so it has to be what you really what you really call bust.
Yeah.
It the expectation of the people
Mm-hmm.
or the expectation of his career.
Yeah.
So players are labeled by fans as bust if they haven't met their certain expectation.
Yeah. Let me look at this. Let
Where
me sure I
they
got that
still,
right.
where they could still be in the league 10, 12, 15 years. But have they haven't met their expectation? Oh, you thought that I was just sitting there, babe. You ready to eat? Uh, yeah. Okay. I was just waiting on I was trying to time it. So that's why I did it. Flying.
When I'm telling you, when this COVID over with, I'm gonna get me a trip to Detroit. I'm gonna get some cooked meal. I'm gonna get me a nice little cooked meal. I'm gonna come back and visit my. I got a ministry there, really close friends of our church. I'm gonna come over there. I'm gonna see you guys, and I'm gonna get me that good old cooked meal. But yeah, man, it's actually tied. I had to go back and look at it. So I mean, it's Mobley by a long shot. Like nearly 60% said Mobley had the highest bust factor, and then it came back, and then Cade and Green were number two. So then the last question I asked was, and we can just kind of not wrap it up, but just kind of keep going with this type of conversation. Is the last fact I said when you come to a floor, like, and when this guy says a floor, who has a floor that would put you into a rotation? Like, who has a floor that would put you into a like you are the first off the bench, like maybe like a Luke Kennard, like his floor is good enough to be a first guy off the bench, or potentially it'll be a starter,
um,
not be the stud. So in the
if
poll, they
he
said it was
Suggs,
I think it
Suggs,
was
one,
Green. I think they said Green. They said Green had the best floor. Um, I didn't agree with some of the examples of what they call his floor. Like one person said his floor is Wiggins. I think Wiggins, that's a super high floor, but I get what he's saying.
yeah,
But I think Wiggins is a
that's
super
not a
high floor.
yeah, that's super high because when you think about it, Wiggins is still averaging around 20 points a game.
Right, right. That was so. Yeah, so they said Green had the high floor. So this is probably about 50% of people say Green had the high floor, the best floor, I should say. Cade had the next best floor, then Mobley, and then Suggs would have the lowest floor. Like he would probably be the more of a like barely a rotational player if he doesn't max out his ability. How you feel about that?
Um, I would agree because even with that, the one thing that Green has is number one, he's explosive. So those
Yeah,
guys always have, a spot. There will always be a rotational guy, just for the simple fact that he can get up and down the floor, he can run, he can do all this. Now, um, the reason why you would say Suggs is, the bottom when you look at how many failed point guards you
mm-hmm.
have.
Yeah, yeah,
And as a point guard, it's very easy for you to get washed down the bench if
mm-hmm.
you're not producing. As we've seen with Dennis Smith Jr., regardless of where you're drafted,
Yeah.
if you're not healthy, like they say, you're the best ability, the
I got you.
ability, is availability. Period. If you're not available, then you have no availability. You have no market.
Yeah.
So, when you look at the trade for Dennis Smith, it was done clearly off athleticism
Mm-hmm.
and possible potential.
Right.
And the thing about that is, the thing about it, what makes it even better is that by Smith being uber athletic, he can shift from the one and possibly transition to the two.
Yeah.
Where Suggs, in my opinion, is he's strictly a one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he may be able to play some two, but you can't. I think if you see him go to two, I don't see a higher production. I see a lower production.
You're right.
Where
And
Smith, when you say that, you can easily say, okay, Smith at the two can easily produce more. Why? Because he's not going to have the ball in his hand. He's going to be able to get up and run and dunk. He's
yeah.
going to be able to run the floor more. He's not going to have to try to get everybody involved.
Right. 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 So if you're checking this out, guys, I'm actually guys, you do me a favor, just make sure you like this subscription that we got going on, like this group, like this stream, share it out. We got a few more people going to be jumping on. We talking the 2021 NBA draft. It makes me smile. I was sad at last year's draft. I'm loving the potential of this year's draft. I might cry if we end up with the seventh pick, but I like the potential of this year's draft. I'm my man here with Nate Rucker, and we just chopping it up. We just talking through some just different things. I love getting Nate. I love Bo, Kenneth, Hunter. Some of them guys, man, they played the game. They've been around high levels of play. So I value their feedback. We don't always have to agree, but I definitely value their feedback and when we chop it up and when we talk it through. So right now we're talking Cade, Suggs, Green, and Mobley. And then future we'll talk about some other potential prospects depending on how I go. So my question, Gilbert Arenas, he recently did a podcast and he was talking about the NCAA finals. I don't know if you've seen it. And he
Yeah.
made a comment that he feels as though that Suggs kind of I don't want to say he didn't show up. I think I don't take it as him saying he didn't show up. I think he's saying that he was kind of coddled in this situation because how good Gonzaga is. And then when they finally got into a dogfight, and then you need your best player to really dominate in these one-on-ones, like what Gonzaga was putting them in. Like they was like, we're gonna man up one-on-one. It's like he didn't take over. Do you kind of agree with that sentiment, or how you feel about
No,
that?
I disagree because
Mm-hmm.
out of everybody else, Suggs is the one who competed to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless what the outcome is, when you look at the guys that the one thing, so me and a couple of guys we were talking about it,
Uh-huh.
and we were talking about the difference between Baylor and Gonzaga,
Mm-hmm.
where the first thing that pops out, how many NBA players are NBA player ready are on Gonzaga?
off the top, what two or three?
3.
Mm-hmm.
So you say Kipper,
Mm-hmm.
Suggs, and Tim or Time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga, I mean Baylor has 2.
Right.
So instantly off the top of your head, you're instantly going to take Gonzaga as the favorite. Now,
Right.
here was the difference. How many of those 3 potential NBA players showed up for Gonzaga?
Mm. I
So when you
got you.
look at it, you have to look at and see who actually showed up, regardless what the point totals were,
Right.
regardless what the total outcome is. Who consistently showed up and tried to put that effort, regardless if shots
Mm-hmm.
went in, out, whatever. When you look at the aggressiveness and you look at who was trying to wheel them back into it, it was Suggs.
Yeah.
So,
I Yeah, and I don't disagree. I don't think Suggs didn't play hard.
right,
I think that, and I take into full consideration that Baylor has a system, and I don't know the coach, and I don't know how rigid he is. Like we just gonna play this way to the
Scott
end.
Brooks, everybody, you
Yeah,
should know who Scott Brooks is.
yeah, yeah, man. I just, you know what I mean. I don't, but I also know like with Scott Brooks being like, I know him more so on the NBA side, but I also know that he's an NBA guy, so he knows a guy who can take over. Like he knows, like, oh
Right.
man, this not working. Get the ball too. And I just kind of felt like in the half court set, and like I said, I don't. Well, for me, I know what the NCAA does. I know that it puts a lot of microscope spotlight. Like the further you go, it puts a bigger like microscope on a person, their talent, ability. Like you could have 30, 30, 30 in the first 3 rounds and score 5, 6, 7. People are like, oh, he bust. So I get that. But
Right.
I think I was looking for Suggs in some of those one-on-ones to really be the explosive guy and take over. And I think that's the part that I just didn't see in that situation. So
Well,
my question is it more like he's just not used to it because how good they are all the time? Or is it just system like we're gonna run this system
I,
to the end
I
of the clock?
think mainly when I look at it, I think it's a lot about the system, but also
Mm-hmm.
remember that Suggs isn't like super athletic, you
No,
know.
no, he's not. And I was
Right.
gonna talk about that too.
So I think what people were weren't used to seeing is some him being guarded by someone or having to guard someone who's more athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about the quickness and you think about the length of Baylor players.
Mm-hmm.
So that had a lot to do with it. So if you're not, regardless how tall you are, if you don't, how we talk about length and athleticism,
Right,
a lot of times you can get by with that alone.
right,
Yeah,
right, right.
Suggs without a doubt was in his matchup was the more talented player.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
here's the difference: who was the more gifted player?
Good. That's good.
So when you look at the difference between talented and gifted, when you think about talent, you can say, okay, this guy had it. Why? Because this guy worked at it. This guy has worked on his craft. He's been in the gym. He's put these hours in. Gifted, a guy who has done little work, but
Mm.
has the attributes and the natural ability,
Yeah.
not so much the skill, but just the pure natural ability is the gifted. And so that's what the type of matchup that you had to look at when you're seeing Suggs versus Mitchell.
Right. No, that's good. And so I don't want to make it all about Suggs because people think I don't like him, and I do. I just don't like him more than other 3. So Cade, if you look at Cade, so let's look about how these guys blend in with the Pistons. Which one do you think fits the Pistons the best? Like ideally, let's just say they all are number ones. Let's just say they all are number one, but they
And when
number
I
one
look
work.
at what the Pistons want to do,
Yeah, if you were to say the one who just
I would
fits
say
our
Mobley.
team the best. Mm-hmm.
Mobley.
Yeah, me too.
Because number one, you have to look at what your personnel is. So I'm putting my pick aside
Mm-hmm.
and say, because as we've seen Dennis out the rotation, they want to see what Killian Hayes has. So number one, if you're going to keep Killian Hayes, then there's no way you're going to draft another point guard. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you have to have someone because he's not a scorer. So you're going to have to find someone who's going to be able to make shots
Right.
or do what Mason Plumlee does.
Mm-hmm.
It's alley oops at the basket, hit little 10, 10, 12, 15 footers, things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature where Killian Hayes is able to draw the defense and he's able to kick. So when you look at that, you easily can say, instantly Mobley is the direction that you would go
Yeah.
because it's
Now.
7 feet. And when you look at what they missed in Christian Wood was the ability, a 7 feet guy, long, able to run the floor, able to stretch the defense. And that goes back to the conversation or the first question we had, who has the higher ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
So what you have to do now is when you say who will have the higher ceiling with this current roster?
Mm.
Mobley.
I I like Mobley. I like Mobley. Like I said, he's my strong number two. It'd be so hard for me to pass on Cade, man. It would be hard. It would be hard to pass on Cade, though. Only
Oh,
because I like, and I'm not a hype. Like I'm not a hype. Like I
right.
really
But see,
watch
but this is where you get. This is how I have where you have to think.
Uh-huh.
Who and what position would Cade actually play? And then
Man,
you
I
have to
will
look
put.
at
Go
where
ahead.
would you.
No, go ahead. Finish up.
Okay, so then you have to look at where you would put your star.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Grant is the star.
Mm-hmm. For now,
It's 6'8". So realistically, you're going to put him at the 3, right? What
potentially.
does right? So what does let's say you move him to the 3, right? What does moving Jeremy Grant to the 4 full time do to him? Does it
Mm-hmm.
make his scoring go up, or does he or is he the new Pascal Siakam, where Toronto has faded because they've moved Siakam from the 3 to the 4, and he
Mm-hmm.
struggled all year.
Yeah, I can honestly say that. So I would see it this way. As of now, I don't know how it's going to work out between. Um, I'm sorry. It's like for me, this is just how I view it. I'm not saying it's a right or wrong, and maybe
Right.
I could run a franchise or maybe I'll make it better. But the way I would look at it like this: if Cade and Killian Hayes were in the same draft, 1,000 times over, we taking Cade. So I'm
I
not so
think Killian
interested.
Hayes in this draft, and all these guys are available, gets drafted ahead of either none of them.
Right. So that's my point. So I'm it's like, and no disrespect to Killing Hayes, because I know people think I'm a Killing Hayes bash hater. I'm
Hey,
not
hey,
even
they
putting,
tell me the same thing. Don't
yeah.
even mention his name.
He's not even my factor of who I'm drafting. Like literally, unless we get into like we end up with a 7th pick and there's this a guard, like that's the only way I'm factor. But he's not even a factor of anything if we end up with the number one. So but ideally I would say Hayes at the point, um, and then putting Cade at number 2, and then moving Jeremy Grant back to the small forward spot. And I know it's hard because we still are like, we want to do, I guess Jeremy Grant have to go to that 3-4 because you're going to want to play with oh my God, why is brain what is his name is just leaving me? Oh my Lord, Bay. You're going to want to keep Bay in that rotation, but I think they just have to switch between that rotate between that 3-4 type of position, because what I have seen though is how much Jeremy Grant had dropped off since playing power forward. Since moving into more of that power forward role, like since Blake Griffin was traded, and people don't like talking about stuff like this, but when Blake Griffin got traded, and then Jeremy Grant had to become more of a facilitator, more of a creator, and his numbers have dropped off tremendously. His efficiency has dropped off greatly. But I
Exactly.
think that adding another scorer creator to the mix, like a will help a lot. I think having another Cade guy like that will help a lot. So that's how I kind of see it in that sense. Like I think Cade can be like I'm not trying to hype it up, because and this is documented so people can hold me to this forever. I think Cade is one of the most just pound for pound talented guys to come out in the draft in a long time. Like Zion is like one of the most physically gifted, muscle, strong, explosive guys we've ever seen. LeBron is the biggest, strongest, fastest,
He
athletic guy we've seen.
the freak.
But I think Cade is not the freak in the athleticism, but his skill set, size, and ability. Like he's like a defending Luca. Like Luca don't defend, he defends, but he can do the other skill set.
Um,
That's attractive.
K reminds me of a young Penny Hardaway.
Exactly. I love that.
It's and a lot of people, because when Penny was drafted, Penny was overlooked a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Till they seen him on that national stage with Orlando, but a lot of people was like, "Who? Wait, they taking who?"
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what they did at Memphis, a lot of them didn't. So when I see Cade, I see Penny, but that's why I say that to me is going to move Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes,
Mm.
that's what I was telling the guy, and the guy he keep telling me about 10 games in YouTube. Like, listen, Killian Hayes has never been a scorer, even in high
No,
school.
no.
Dude didn't even average 20 in high school.
Right.
You know, and then overseas. So his game, it is what it is. Killian Hayes' ceiling is Ricky Rubio, and it would never
Mm-hmm.
more than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That is as good as Killian Hayes is going to get. A left hand Ricky Rubio. And when you think about it, neither one of them are great shooters. But the only difference is I think Rubio is better going left than Killian Hayes is going right. Even from the
Mm.
even from the moment he was drafted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not only is Killian Hayes behind Rubio in his ceiling, now it's going to be, oh, okay. How fast is he going to develop enough to gain that respect? Before this draft, can you honestly say, to me, his best game was the last game? Um, I was very surprised at his defense, his quick hands. I give him that. He actually took a couple of shots, which shocked me too. His willingness
Yeah.
to but again, he still struggles going right. If he go
Yeah.
right, he has to get it back in that left hand fast as possible. What up, Reg?
What's up, Reg? You looking
What
sharp,
up,
brother. You
fellas?
looking
Yeah,
sharp.
yeah.
So what we've covered a little bit, man. We've just so we track. So I covered the polls that we did in the group, talking about who has who do we believe have the highest potential to lead a playoff contending team, and their votes were over 60% going to Cade. We asked who had the highest bust factor. The votes were close to 60% saying Mobley. And then we asked, the last question was who has the best floor, like the floor to be a strong rotational type starter. And then
Pretty
that
sure
was
that was
Green.
Cade.
So it was Green. Actually, Green had the votes.
Really?
About 50% said Green. So what we was talking about now was just like who would be the ideal fit in two scenarios. One, like in the development of continue to keep a guy like our Frenchman, to keep him in the mix of things, and then we got two Frenchmen, but to keep our guy, our guard of the future in the mix of things. And what's the scenario will be? Who's just simply, regardless of, like, if they were all number one, like just say all number one, like you say A1, A2, but they all just like, which one would be the best fit? So Nate was saying he believes that Mobley would just be the best fit. Like everybody just maxed out number one. And then, of course, I'm sticking with Cade no matter what. And so I'm pretty sure I know what your answer going to be. But who would you
Actually,
say
you
is the
may
best
not,
fit?
because remember, I do love Suggs. Now the reason I do is because I feel like
Reg is going Jalen Green.
Huh?
Reg is going Green.
Actually, I was going to agree with you.
Oh,
When it comes to fit, because you got to remember, we still got Diallo here. We still got, and it looks like they're willing to dedicate themselves to him. You still gonna have Hayes here. And push come to shove, we still have to see what we have in him, regardless of what we've seen so far. So having Diallo here kind of nudges Green for me, even though I feel like Green will be a better player than Diallo. We're still going to have Grant here for the foreseeable future, for at least the next 2 years. Now we have a void, and that void is at center. I do not look at Stewart as a full-time center. I look at him as more of a power forward, possibly a stretch forward. So bringing in an athlete of that caliber, the potential of being a go-to big man, I think it'll make Hayes' job that much easier, and it will make
I know Reds don't agree with nobody. That's a lot for Reds. That's a lot for Reds to say that, man. For him to not to say Suggs out of his heart, because he really want to say Suggs
in my heart.
But now I'm gonna clean it up for you. Who would you take regardless? Who would I take regardless
of what's going on?
Yeah,
it would be Suggs. To a point. Now, I didn't think that we would get I don't think we're going to get the number 1 pick.
Okay.
I've said that for months. And that's the reason why I've been completely ignoring Cade, because I just don't think that we were getting him. So really it was my 1A was really Suggs, because I didn't think that we'll get Cade.
Okay.
Now with Green does present something that's unique, that athleticism. He looks like he can put in buckets. He's a little questionable on the defensive end, but with his athleticism, that can be coached up.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Mobley was like my number 3 because of fit. Like he's the perfect fit for us. Now push come to shove, if we end up with the 5th pick, I do not mind having Kuminga. And that's because of his pure athleticism. He already has a physical build of an NBA player. His shot form is not bad. It's just not going in. So he's my 5th.
Kuminga.
Huh?
I got a guy in front of Kuminga.
Keon? He like Keon.
No way. I didn't think he was coming out.
Huh?
I didn't think he was coming out.
I had a feeling he was, because right now, outside of that top 5, it's really a crapshoot as to who can go after them. Like, there's nobody that's like a bona fide, this is the number 6 guy.
Are you familiar?
I do like Scotty Barnes.
I would ready to say Scotty Barnes. I think he's moved up. What's the guy from Duke?
Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, I think that I know Duke ain't got the best track record outside of some guys.
Physicality though, he physically can play in the NBA.
Yeah. So I think that some of them. What I think is going to happen with this draft, and I definitely want to break this up into 2 segments. I want us to kind of keep up with it and like clearly do some like we've done in the past. Like we start really highlighting guys and. Really
Sorry, my cat is like
some of them. No, that's all good. We talk about some of them. We talk about some of them gems that we find. But let's talk a little bit more about Green though, because I know you just jumped in, but we really did talk about Suggs. Nate really came through. He countered Gilbert Arenas' comments. He defended Suggs well. We talked about Cade potential. We talked about Mobley. Let's talk about Green a little bit. When we talk about Green, what are you? So that's 2 things. It's guys like Green who I believe can be special. And this is me. I don't put too much stock into G League, and the reason I don't, because they play so often, they don't do it's not a lot of preparation. It's a lot of rotation shifting with guys, so it's really hard to get an indicator about like if I'm game planning for you, like in college, they'll game plan against the Suns. In the G League, they're playing like every other day, and then they're done in like 15, 20 games, and the season is done. So it's hard for me to really indicate. I know the athleticism is there, but it's really hard for me to indicate what happens when the guys they're trying to stop you. So what do you look at Green? Do you agree with the sentiments of Green being Kobe-like, P-Mac-like? Do you agree with that type of ceiling with him? or do you think he's more that DeMar DeRozan? I know he can shoot, DeMar DeRozan can't shoot, but I'm using that. Kelly Oubre, is he in that realm? Like, what do you kind of see his high and his low as?
So I always guard against comparing people to Kobe.
Always.
And the reason why is because Kobe brought it on both ends of the court. He had a aggressiveness to be better than you on both sides of the court. I don't see that out of Green. Offensively, yes. Defensively, no. Kobe was the ultimate definition of a two-way player. Somebody that wanted to annihilate you. And I'm never going to just flat out say that somebody can be Kobe.
Right.
That's yeah. And
so I want to be clear,
I will
Kobe
say,
F, meaning alpha male scorer. That I just want to be clear, not Kobe, but Kobe-esque. Like the Mamba, he would be in the Mamba Academy. He'd be a Mamba Caddy graduate. You know what I mean?
He definitely has that Kobe-esque mentality. The offensive end, where he doesn't feel nobody can guard him, and he's going to get bucket, whether it's a jumper, whether it's a dunk or and one. Very confident in his ball handling. He's very confident with finishing at the rim. He doesn't question it. He's not a guy who gets in the air and be like, oh my God, they want to lay up or dunk. He's going to dunk it, period. Or he's always going to be an and one. So yes, he's Kobe-esque on the offensive end, like Reg said, but on the defensive end, is something different.
That's why I had a comparison for him. My comparison for him was Vincent Lamar Carter. Vincent Lamar Carter was an offensive juggernaut. He will go at you offensively. You're going up, he's going to try to dunk on you. But on the defensive end, Vincent did not bring it. And that wasn't his thing. But offensively, he was going at you. That was no question. And that's why I felt like that comparison was more apropos than saying Kobe.
No, it's not good. More of a Stackhouse or Vince Carter?
More of a Vince Carter. Stackhouse was a drunk, an inefficient drunk. I really guard against comparing people to him. He was Mr. 30 for 30.
We're gonna hold a whole conversation about how good Stackhouse really was.
No, I'm not saying Stackhouse was a bad player, but when he was with us, until Carlisle kind of reined him in a little bit, just a little bit, he was a drunk. Like there was no shot that he saw that he wasn't going to take. I didn't like that about Jerry. And that's why when he traded for Richard Hamilton, I was probably one of the few people that was all on board because of his efficiency.
Smith, it's the same thing. Like, dude, it's like dudes get here, and because there's no true alpha male, they have to try to force their way into that spot, and there's bad shot, there's no team. I'll be like, dog, what the do you all right.
So with
my
Green,
coach, he was doing push-ups.
So with Green, what would be his so we already agreed about the defense. We know the defense thing. So you are saying Vince Carter. Are you agreeing with that, Nate? Like the Vince Carter, you agree with that type of? So what would be his if he missed? Like, because this is my thing about wings. And you know,
I'm not going to say Vince Carter. I've got a different one.
Oh, go ahead. What's yours?
I've got Ricky Davis.
Ooh.
See, and so to me, I'm gonna be quick, and I'm gonna get right back to it. When I say Stackhouse, that's what I'm saying. It's like a guy who's gonna come put up buckets. He's gonna score, but if you don't rein him in, everything's gonna facilitate. But going back to you,
Yeah, because when you think about it, Ricky Davis was so explosive for a 6'4", 6'5" guard. I mean, he was streaky.
He was streaky.
But the other end, you like, dude, like, what are you doing? And that's why I see Jalen, like he'll do a lunge or attempt a block or attempt a steal maybe here and there. That was Ricky Davis. But one of the biggest things about like Ricky Davis that y'all remember the one bonehead.
Yeah.
Oh, it's me. Like how you got your triple double.
Yeah.
So I can see Jalen Green talking about some. Oh my bad. Like
we're gonna have to go and draft Jalen Green, and we're gonna be back in the lottery, and it's gonna be like a guy. What did Ricky Davis say about LeBron? He said, "I thought he was coming here just to get me more shots."
Dog, he did say that, and
Yeah, I thought he was supposed to
bro,
be here to get me more shots. Like
you
the problem is be a point guard. He's supposed to be here to get me more shots. But no. I definitely agree. Like I said, I like Green's potential higher than I like Jalen Suggs' potential. The reason Jalen Suggs scare me, and sometimes through text messages we get lost. The reason Jalen Suggs kind of scares me is when people start saying that stuff like, and I'm not just saying it's that, but me and Nate was talking about a little bit. I don't think he's as athletic, explosive as people make him out to be. I believe he's good. I believe he's a very good, but I do not think he's elite athletic.
So there's tiers. There's tiers. Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, they had next level uber athletic.
Well,
okay.
Russell isn't like uber athletic. He's just
Well, when he first started off, he was. He's lost a bit of athleticism now, but when he first got in the league, the comparison was being made to Derrick Rose as far as his athleticism.
Oh, but here's the thing. If you go back and look at what Russell Westbrook's vertical is, he's not uber athletic. He's always just went so hard and so angry that's why a lot of guys really get out the way. Like he's a very hard driver. His vertical is only like 36.
You're right. You actually nailed it. It's like 36.5.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. He's not that top athletic guy.
But when I'm talking about athleticism, I'm not just talking about leaping ability. I'm talking about that quick twitch, that burst, that first step, like all of that combined.
Okay, yes. Now that his first step, his quickness from end to end.
His first step is elite.
without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But that is top notch. The rest is
Red, you're saying you see him in that? You see Jalen Suggs?
No, okay. He's in the tier below that. As far as vertically, now a lot of people when they think about athleticism, they look at vertical burst. I don't look at just that. I look at the quick twitch, ability to get by somebody, your first step, your speed, especially in transition. He has all that.
Now he got a burst.
Now the only thing that you can really say about Suggs that I don't really have a defense for is his ball handling elite. His ball handling is not elite. Like his ball handling does not match his first step. Like it's not an advanced dribble. You know what I'm saying? Like CP3 has an advanced dribble.
Right.
He's able to dribble his way to where he wants to go.
Right.
Rose relies on the athleticism that he has to get where he needs to go.
Yeah.
And that's now the things that I love about him had to deal with a lot of the intangible things. Is he a two-way player? Yes. He's going to give you the same effort on the offensive end that he's going to give you on the defensive end. Is he a leader? Yes. I always, those are those boxes that I check off. Remember, I had the same feelings about Halliburton. I was like, the more boxes that you check off for me, the more comfortable I feel playing you. And the thing that separates him from Halliburton is the athleticism. He's basically, to me, he was Halliburton enhanced without the shot. Like he doesn't have that efficient shot.
So I'm a counter, and I want to thanks Michael for jumping in on the chat with us, man. I appreciate it. If you can share this, add people, invite people to this. We got a little bit more time. We're gonna chop it up. So this is how I feel, and once again, not saying anybody's wrong. I've watched Jalen Suggs a lot. Now I watched him some during the season. I watched him more during the NCAAs. I think my biggest concern is and it's okay if nobody agrees. I just did not see him. I went in that one game. I really didn't see him take over. And people say, "Oh, you don't need to take over." Gonzaga did because it's the team he on. I don't think that's a positive because do I know that he can do it? I don't know if he can take over a game. I don't know if he can. So I don't know if that's a positive. Just to say you're on such a good team that didn't need you, that you can just turn it on now in a league as a top 3, and now potentially you're going to be leaned on as a guy who's going to carry a franchise. I just don't know.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and for the most part, I agree to a point.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we didn't get to finish this conversation, but I had made reference to Jason Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I had made reference to Jason Tatum is because Jason Tatum was a number 2 or number 3 at Duke. He deferred to Luke Kennard, and he had the other white guy. I forgot his name.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So you could see the skill that Jason Tatum had, but you never really had to see him take over because he had other 2 guys to defer to. Well, that's why I would say his situation was similar to what Suggs is going through. He came in as a true freshman. You have a senior that they were deferring to, and they had Timmy, who was a big man with an advantage against most people in the league.
Right.
Now, that was the reason why I have made that comparison. Now, the other thing is I try to guard against just using what happens in the tourney to determine how good or what a player could be or what he's going to do. Because it's still in a different bubble. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen some great players come up shy in the tourney and then end up delivering in the league because of how wide open it is, and they're not going to see the zone as much. There's a lot of little different things that they're going to see. Now, the one thing that I loved about what happened in the championship game was Suggs got hit with a questionable foul, and then he got hit with a legit foul, and it took him out of the game. And when that happened, it took away, first of all, one of their best perimeter defenders against a strong perimeter-oriented team in Baylor. And that's when it really started rolling downhill. Like, oh man, this is gonna get ugly quick. But what I appreciate about Suggs is when he got back in, he didn't shy away from what was going on. He kept fighting.
See that
he kept fighting, and a lot of people like what when Gilbert Arenas said that he wasn't going one-on-one. I don't know what he was talking about because I saw all the one-on-ones he had, and he was going by people.
Exactly.
I don't know, man. I got to go back and watch the tape.
I literally look when you brought it up again. When you brought it up again, I actually went and brought the tape back up, and I looked at it. I said, "These are all one-on-ones." He had 4 baskets off one-on-ones.
Yes,
he had 2 in transition. He had 2 that were kick-out threes, and then the rest was free throws. Yeah, and most of that happened in the second half, and that's I was like,
I think I what Gilbert was looking at or what he was talking.
But again, I don't think he stopped playing hard. And I agree, you could say the fouls took him out of it. And like I said, I don't want to beat him up, but I just think that when I watched him throughout the season, he was playing on a team that really didn't need you to do anything because your team is so good. Now, I'm not saying he didn't show up. He had some great games in the midst of the season, but and a lot of guys struggled. But I felt like throughout the season, and if you tell me, I'm saying, but it doesn't sit well with me. It's to say, he didn't need to. That's why he didn't shoot better. Like he didn't need to shoot better.
Now, I always say that system can play a hand in certain things. A lot of coaches do have a leash on players that they shouldn't have. If I'm going into a tournament game against a team like Baylor that has athleticism, that has guards the way that they do, I was going to focus on getting Suggs going, not trying to dump the ball down to Timmy and slowing the game down, because Baylor was not going to allow them to do that because they were physical with Timmy. They were physical with him. He did not look good.
They played exactly into their hands.
Yeah, they played into and that's why I was like, with certain things, I kind of like, okay, we had made reference to it, and I don't like doing that either. And I know you didn't like it either when I was saying that, if Suggs was on Oklahoma State, he wouldn't have a leash. You would be able to see more of what he could present to a team. You'll be able to see him be able to face double teams for most of the season and see how he adjusts. Like, because that was the thing.
I'm throwing Keon in the hat.
But that's the reason why I'm like, I try to look beyond what he can present to a team because because it was a lot of that stuff was hidden. But then you seen glimpses of it. Like you'd be like, okay, I see what he can do. I see he has the athleticism. I see he plays defense. I see that he gets out in transition, which is what 90% of the NBA is. Right. So
it really desire to be.
True.
Most of the NBA is actually half court offense. So, but it's your easy buckets in transition. But
the teams that play defense, the teams that play defense, they're getting that ball and they pushing it.
I mean, I mean, at the very top team, your offense is the very best offense is going to run about 20%. You may get 20% of your scoring in transition. Most of your offense is always going to come half court. But I'm not knocking because I believe all these guys are 19. I mean, end of the day, we talk about 4, 19, 18, 19-year-olds who now going to be 20 4 years. So have we seen their skill, ability, potential? No. So like I said, the things I typically measure every year in the draft, it just I try to take away personal feelings and I start to do the stuff. Size, skill, ability to shoot. And I always measure those three. And I take those things and because it's so hard to measure the dog in a person, all of that type of stuff. It's so hard to even measure those things, like how passionate, how hungry. You don't even know until they get there. So when I just looked at all intangibles, that's why I say Suggs ends up on the back end because it's so hard to say leader. When Kobe came out of high school, and I'm saying, and I had people like talking about him.
Wasn't in high school either, though.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. Nobody was like leader, alpha. They knew scorer, they knew kid, they knew hungry, dunker, but nobody was talking about leader. You know, LeBron, back when LeBron came out, people were saying Carmelo was more of a leader than LeBron based on Carmelo leading Syracuse to final. Like, people weren't looking at LeBron, calling LeBron a leader, but now people are like, LeBron is the ultimate leader. So that's the kind of like my thing. It's so hard to measure this with 19-year-olds to call.
Well, it's not something that can be applied to everyone.
Right.
Certain people, they show that. There's no doubt about it. If you're going to ask me whether Gary Payton was a dog in college, I can say yes, because we've seen that out of Gary Payton. The other thing about Suggs, he had a football background along with basketball. He was a quarterback.
And
starting to develop into being a leader, that's one of the primary positions that we see. This wasn't a wide receiver that we're talking about. We're talking about a man he won Mr. Basketball and Mr. Football in those sports.
So did Luke Kennard.
And the crazy part about
it, so did Luke Kennard.
But we also we knew Luke Kennard wasn't that guy.
Yeah,
he got here.
But what I'm saying though, but if you look at what you just gave, your same analogy, Luke Kennard was starting quarterback. He could have chose quarterback or basketball. He chose basketball. He goes to Duke. He was the alpha dude in Duke. He took all the big shots at Duke. Then he gets scared and he regressed.
Look at Luke Kennard at Duke. You can tell it was all. Everybody knows Duke is a system. And when you looked at Luke Kennard, you knew he would never be a guy that would be, oh my God, I'm going to break down the defense. I'm going to get my own shot. He was never that guy. Never at Duke. Never, ever, ever, ever. When you look at who he had on his team, who went number one?
No. I get that, but
that's what I'm telling people too.
But if you look at what was said about Luke Kennard coming out of high school into college, he was seen as a guy. He was the guy. He was the Mr. Ohio. He was all of those things. He was the leader. He was the number one guy in the country. He was not number one, but he was up there like top guy in the country. So what I'm just saying, it's so hard to measure.
But you know the other thing that is too
to NBA.
I don't want to make this about Luke Kennard, but when
I know where he's going,
certain players they get into a certain place, like especially in the NBA, they want to play the right way. Luke deferred way more than he ever should have on this team. He deferred. He would pass open shots in order to make the extra pass. But we kept and everybody wanted to see him jack it up.
No.
And we didn't see it. We didn't even see it until last year. The first 30 games that he had, this is the Luke that we've been looking for. This is the Luke that aggressive Luke that we were looking for.
So that's my point. Jalen Suggs is coming in a system that said to him, "This is how we run. This is what we do. This is how we play." And I think he honored that. I think he honored that completely. And it's not. I'm not like he should have just went against the grain and did what he wanted to do. He did what he was supposed to do. I'm just saying, but I don't know how that always just transitions into he's going to be a leader here. I don't know. When if he gets here and he's passive? It's, you can't just say, "Oh, he's going to be aggressive." When if he's passive and get hit? And I would say Cade, in my opinion, has already shown a level of aggressive. Even Mobley has shown a level of aggressive. Like, I can take and carry a team. Like, and when we do flip and we can just play with the scenarios. I'm not gonna say that they don't make it to the NCAA. So you put Oklahoma, you put Suggs on Oklahoma State. Yes, they can still make it to NCAAs and still make it to. But I question, can he go just the same way that Cade struggled? When Cade struggled, right, his team got eliminated because they were so. I'm just saying, I believe that that's the hard part to go by. Like, he would not struggle.
And that's why I said I get that, and that's why I said I don't like looking at that anyway.
Yeah,
I don't like looking at what he did in the tourney was this. Like, we were laughing and joking about it, but that's not.
That's what I said.
I'm like, because I saw what happened with Cade. They were like, "We're not going to let you beat us. We're going to make you." And that's what you should do when the team has a singular focus like that. That makes sense.
And no legit secondary.
No legit second.
But I believe that, and this was it's not a knock on Suggs. It's just what I'm saying. How I see things. I think, and I mind putting Green in it because I don't know what Green could do in like game plan against like that. But I think you could put Mobley or Cade. Now they may not going to defeat it. I don't know. But I think you could put them on that team and they still be in the same position that they're in. But I think they should.
Gonzaga was loaded, so we can't. I'm not gonna take away from the fact of what Gonzaga was or is. They were going to go where they were going, regardless of whether it was Cade. So I wholeheartedly agree with that.
That's just my hard part. That's I guess it's like a double-edged, unfair thing I'm doing with him, because I'm basically saying, because your team was so good, I'm holding something against you. But it was just something I just want to see, and maybe I gotta go back into the tapes and watch. But
that's what I'm saying. I just looked at what he was presenting, all those other little things he was doing, because we didn't get to see exclusively what Suggs would be if he was just the go-to guy. That's why I brought up Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards last year, in college, he had the same situation that Cade was in. And he just ended up, I don't even want to say he ended up being a drunk, but he was shooting too much.
You see him now. He like right now he's living his best life.
Yeah, because he basically went to the NBA version of his college team.
Yeah, with the Beasley, when Malik Beasley was out, and with D'Angelo Russell out, and this man is now like, you can put up 20 shots a game. He's living his best life right now. But I want to get ready to end this, man. I wanted to give it like an hour, but definitely, man, this is like a really good. I think we should start picking up. I apologize to everybody who said, Elder, keep coming back with these the narrative talkbacks and real talk for real Piston fans. But man, my work schedule in life is so crazy. I can only get spots when I get them to really do it the way I want to do it. I try to stream this one on YouTube, so if you guys are watching, if you're looking, I'm just asking you guys to share it, get them YouTube subscribers up. And then if this doesn't, work really well, we'll put it back in the groups. But I'm just trying to do something so I don't have to, I'm being honest, I don't want to be lazy. I don't feel like trying to download it and have to load it back up again by just putting it on YouTube. But people have told me put more content, so this is good content, man. We have Reginald, Mr. Suggs. We have Nate. Nate is naming people a blood vessel. Say it again.
I was busy laughing and about to bust a blood vessel while drinking water. It was all bad.
I saw you spit it out. He just ran on camera.
I wasn't ready. I promise you I wasn't.
But we got Nate got a whole rack of people who we not even talking about. We're gonna talk about Keon in the future. We're gonna talk about Kuminga in the future. Like, so for the next few
Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, Scotty Barnes, man. We're going to talk about the draft, but I'm trying to keep my heart hopeful that we're going to end up with this number 1 top 3. I'll be very upset if we end up outside of the top 5.
It's going to be a riot.
Oh, and I got another sleeper. Don't nobody sleep on Sharif Cooper.
Oh, yeah. I got another 2.
What position? What's his position?
Point guard.
Okay. Yeah, they're gonna sleep on him. Then they ain't gonna take him over top of.
And I would say Giddy. And Bassey.
Yeah.
Giddy and Bassey. Those are the other. Mm-hmm. Like if we trade back in. Ooh.
All right, viewers. So you guys got some homework assignments that done drop some names. So our next one, we're going to talk about some sleepers in the draft. Although we are hoping for a top 3 pick, we're hoping that we don't have to end up outside
top 5. At least top 5.
Top 3 pick. I'm trying to say. I'm gonna be very specific.
At least top 5. If we drop outside the top 5,
old one,
somebody getting murdered.
I'm so tired, dog, of seeing the Bulls somehow get the number 1 pick.
Cleveland dropped us back twice.
Right. I'm so tired of, like, to me, the NBA draft should be like the NFL.
Yeah.
If you are the worst, then you are the worst.
Yeah. I agree.
Period.
I agree. I don't agree with that, but fellas, this was the Narrative Talk Back, real talk with real Pistons fans. I appreciate Nate coming through, man. Michael, I appreciate you, brother. Just sticking out, checking us out, man. That's big. We need to get you on one of these, man. I appreciate you coming through and just hanging out with us for our first YouTube live chat. And we got Reginald. So, man, appreciate you guys. Tune into our next one. I'll try to be more consistent as you guys demanded. All right. Peace out.